Now, it wasn't all that crazy because I think it was expected based on the reports. And if you follow it along throughout the season leading back to last year's pre-trade deadline buzz about the Ravens and Derrick Henry, but my oh my, not a surprise that he is this week's AFC Offensive Player of the Week. After 199 yards on the ground, 10 receiving yards, a touchdown, and a receiving touchdown. So one on the ground, one through the air. What a beast of a performance, a signature performance, if you will, for Derrick Henry and the Ravens. What did he do the following morning? We all know how quick turnarounds are after primetime games, whether it's hustling back from the stadium to get into bed for your 9 to 5, whether it's in the content world, whether it's as a player, which is probably the biggest, most difficult task of them all. Because in Derrick Henry's case, he had things to do. By the way, the Orioles go down, not in order. I wasn't actually watching. Did they go down in order? No, they couldn't have because Jordan Westberg got beamed in the hand. Anywho, they're down 1-0 through one inning, as I kind of do a little bit of both here, play-by-play wise. But Derrick Henry had some commitments the morning after his dominant performance against Buffalo that I think you'll appreciate. And Kyle Van Noy shared the story on his new podcast with Yahoo Sports.
Henry, I'm still in awe about that run. 87 yards, almost 22 miles an hour at 30 years old. And then the most impressive thing, G, this dude was in the gym the next day early going to work. Like,
that's why he is who he is, man.
And that's why he is who he is, like you just said. It's impressive. He is one of one, an alien, a mutant, but he's a baller. And then he's a great teammate too. Like, just talking shop with him, I got to get to know him a little bit more. I sit next to him on the airplane ride on away games. So just getting to know him as a person, as a player, then to see him success, it's that bonding thing where it's like you become a team when you get to know people a little bit more and see what they're about, their family, all that. Derrick Henry, he's just a good ass dude too.
All right, so there's a couple different things there. Again, Kyle Van Noy's new podcast with Gerald McCoy, courtesy of Yahoo Sports. But here's what I'm thinking about. One, Derrick, one of one for a reason, right? Just doesn't happen that way. Like, he's not just born that way. Okay, of course, he's born with some physically gifted measurables and assets and great genes and whatnot. But damn it, his commitment, his unwavering commitment to good health, good diet, good nutrition, exercise, fitness, strength training. This guy, pliability, you name it, he is so incredibly committed to his craft that when you combine that kind of commitment with some of the physical gifts, you get a future Hall of Famer who is defying logic, defying history when it comes to his position in the National Football League, and the Ravens get to be a beneficiary of that. He is 30. He is on the other side of 30. He is supposed to be approaching the historical cliff at the running back position in the National Football League, and instead he says, screw that, I'm an ascending player, and we're all watching just in awe, as Kyle mentioned. Now, the other side of things here, speaking to the KVN type of impact as a veteran, somebody who leads the NFL in sacks right now. I shouldn't say that. He's actually a half sack behind Aiden Hutchinson, but he's up there, literally a half sack out of tying the lead for sacks through 4 weeks, coming off of a tremendous career year a season ago with 9 overall sacks. He gets re-signed by the Ravens. He's not even brought into the Ravens until week 4 or after week 4 last year. And look at him now. And he shared that story, the fact that he sits with Derrick on away games, on plane rides. And he also, going back to last year, he joined right before the team traveled to London. And I remember when he went on the McAfee show then, and what he said was, look, this is such a great opportunity for me to get to know the guys, young, old, in between, whatever. And I think what you've seen is every championship winning team that has the DNA, right, of a championship caliber mindset has guys in the locker room like Kyle Van Noy. That's the reality of it. And so he's a 2-time Super Bowl champion winning outside linebacker. He's somebody who has clearly felt disrespected when it comes to people writing him off around the league. And I just have such admiration for what he's doing in Baltimore because he is one of those glue guys that goes into the big puzzle when you're trying to connect the pieces to become championship-esque. And so I really I don't think you can put a price tag or measure the importance of guys like that in the locker room. And I think he gives you just good insight week in and week out whenever he's at the podium of what life is like as a veteran inside this locker room. How about where King Henry falls through 4 weeks? He is comfortably in the top 5 rushing yards. Matter of fact, he's top 2 and he ain't 2. With 480 rushing yards, Derrick Henry at 30 years young leads the way. Jordan Mason, undrafted rookie in San Francisco with 447, taking advantage of no Christian McCaffrey so far this season. Saquon Barkley at 3, Alvin Kamara is 4th, and Jonathan Taylor in Indianapolis rounds out the top 5. Not a bad spot for Derrick to be. And not a bad spot that the Ravens will be in once this guy finds his way back into the lineup. John Harbaugh mentioned that even though we hope that it's within the next month or so, at least to see Keaton back out there practicing, John Harbaugh remains tight-lipped. He says that Keaton's on schedule, but he's not close enough for them to really be able to pinpoint when he'll be back. The expectation is it will be before the end of the season. And we've also been given reason to believe that it'll be at some point in the early part of the second half of the season. So do the math. It's a 17-game regular season. We're 4 weeks in thus far. That's where things stand with Keaton. And the Ravens' Wednesday injury report just came out a minute ago. We'll get to that in just a second. But how could I not give the veteran Kyle Van Noy a little bit of love? Look at where he stands. The guest lines are also open if you'd like to call in with a thought, whether it be Orioles postseason baseball related or any of this content that we've discussed, as Zach Eflin walks Hunter Renfroe with 1 out in the top half of the second. It is 1-0 Royals over the Orioles in Game 2 of the wild card series in the American League. Look at KVN sipping from the fountain of youth, boy. 6 total sacks is good for a standalone second. That is second place among sack leaders across the entire National Football League, with Aiden Hutchinson leading the group. Patrick Jones and Will McDonald each tied with 5 apiece through 4 early weeks. Let's do a screen share here because I don't have the slides as of right now, because it just came out related to today's injury report. We'll go big screen. And I'll react live with you because this is the first time I'm seeing it. But remember, Jeff Zrebeck noted that all 52 players were out there practicing at least in some capacity. A great sign of health through 4 weeks. Chris Board popped up on this list as a limited participant with an ankle. Great play by Gunnar Henderson to get the second out of this inning and keep a runner on first. Arthur Maulette, as we mentioned, was back in a limited fashion. That knee and hamstring is his injury designation. Michael Pierce with a shoulder, missed last weekend. He's a full participant. Good sign for him and their run stuffer specialist to be ready for the road trip in Cincinnati. Brent Urban popped up with a neck. He was limited. And Andrew Voorhees, as I mentioned earlier on, was also limited with an ankle designation. So that is where things stand in terms of Wednesday's injury report that literally just popped up. John Jay weighing in. Roger Rosengarten looked good against the Bills. Give him some more opportunities. And perhaps he'll get that. But I guess a question that needs to be asked is, if Voorhees can go and they're going to stick him back in there at left guard, what are you doing with McCary and Rosengarten? Right? What happens from there? because McCary performed very admirably on short notice at left guard, having swapped over from right tackle. So I'm of the belief, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, granted, I know you want to use Voorhees if you have him and if he's healthy. And if that ends up being the case, then great. Stick him in there at left guard. But I don't think Roger Rosengarten should be penalized for that. Coming off a great performance on Sunday Night Football. Right from literally the first offensive snap for the Ravens, he opens up a big hole with Linderbaum and Andrews and all the other big bodies out there that allows Derrick Henry to take off for 87 yards. What do you guys think? If Andrew Voorhees can go, what's the plan with McCary and Rosengarten? Take a couple of your calls before we jump. If you'd like to call in and share a thought, you can do so by clicking on the link that I just dropped into the live chat. There's also one in the show notes below. And before we do so, the Primary Residential Mortgage tailgate at Michael's Cafe is returning this Sunday. Would love to see some of you guys out there in Timonium, Maryland, for those of you who are in the area. Michael's Cafe is just a tremendous restaurant. From 11 to 12:30, I'll be out there pregame live streaming leading up to Ravens Bengals. Of course, that is a 1 o'clock start, so make your plans accordingly. We're going to have raffles and a ton of fun. You have an opportunity to join the show in person if you'd like. All you have to do is just RSVP by clicking on the link that I have pinned in the comments section. You can also click on the link that I have included in the show notes below. Would love to see you guys out there.